to parents. This is a Shado review of Detective Pikachu, and as such, is not intended for children. I review things from an adult perspective, and am very casual about it. I also have no filter, so there will be swearing, dirty jokes, and many other things you might not want your child to be exposed to. Also, I tend to spoil everything. As an alternative, I would suggest the Arlo review of Detective Pikachu. He may be a Muppet, but he's still a very informative creator, and a whole lot more family-friendly than my channel tends to be. Hello, World Wide Web. I'm Shado, the internet personality with the best hair. And with Pokémon Sword and Shield about to come out, or already out, depending on how fast this gets through YouTube's copyright check-in station, I figured, hey, let's talk about Pokémon. Originating as a Game Boy game from 1996, or 1998 if you lived outside Japan, Pokémon was inspired by creator Satoshi Tajiri's childhood memories of bug collecting. 3 decades later, it's one of the largest entertainment properties in the world, sporting tons of games, movies, and an animated series with over 1,000 episodes so far. But Decker, you say, what are you doing reviewing a kid's movie? This thing is clearly targeted at children. Well, today's review is Detective Pikachu. Based on the Nintendo DS game of the same name, Detective Pikachu is a mystery movie with a Pokémon twist. However, the real twist is that Pikachu can actually talk with our unlikely protagonist. But the real twist of it all is that the Pokémon are all depicted hyper-realistically for the first time in an official capacity. Which is understandably horrifying at times. So, let's take a look at Pokémon Detective Pikachu and see just how many of us it will scar for life. This happy kids movie starts off like many a Pokémon film, on a dark night in a dark lab with dark secrets, experimenting on the most powerful Pokémon in the world, at least in Gen 1, Mewtwo. Who promptly murders the fuck out of them! Proving once again, just like Japanese Spider-Man, even in a kid's movie, you can have a body count. As a car zooms away, suddenly, blow! And just as suddenly, it's another beautiful morning in the Pokémon world. The Pidgeotos are singing, the Buffalounts are grazing, and we meet Tim, played by Justice Smith, running around with his friend Jack, played by Karan Soni, as they sneak up on an unsuspecting Cubone, making Tim question if Jack is trying to trick him into getting his own Pokémon.
How dare you? Okay, of course not. Come on. Okay, maybe.
Goddamn cute and cuddly friends that'll fight to the death for me. Fuck this, I'm a Sony gamer. I'm gonna go play some Death Stranding, alright? But Jack knows in his heart of hearts that Cubone is the perfect Pokémon for his best friend Tim.
Water type is not right for you, neither is fire type, but Cubone is lonely. Exactly!
Okay, thank you, Jack. Thank you for that.
Well, at least he didn't go completely poetic and find you a Yamask. Yeah, that ghost Pokémon over there? Dead guy. Looks at his old face and cries sometimes. Ah, well, Tim decides rather than fight with Jack over this, what the hell, why not actually try to catch that Cubone? First, to get on its good side.
Not everyone can pull off wearing the skull of their dead relative, but, you sure can.
Oh, sweet Jesus, I just realized that Cubone is the Ed Gein of the Pokémon world. Ah, well, it's a Pokémon, Timmy's got a Pokéball, and one throw later, Cubone has been sucked into its depths.
It still hasn't turned green yet, Jack. That's bad, right? Run!
Well, that's what you get for acting like this is Pokemon Go. Cubone's not going to sit there and let you throw 50 more balls at it before it runs away. It's going to beat the crap out of you! And then rummage through your wallet. Cubone uses Bone Meringue. It's super effective! Thus, Tim still has no Pokemon, and Jack doesn't have much time left to get him to. You see, Jack is about to leave town on his Pokemon adventure. All their other friends have already done that, and Tim's here like, oh, look at me, I'm an insurance analyst. I have a job, oh, so responsible, like that means anything in the world of Pokemon. However, things get serious when Tim gets a call from Rhyme City Police about the car crash in the opening. Thus, he takes the first train over there.
Please don't. Actually, please do. Thank you.
So, public transit's about the same. Asking whose Lickitung this is gets no response. The reason being, of course, that they are heading to Rhyme City, who have a handy-dandy video to explain that Pokemon and humans have coexisted since the dawn of time, and therefore, Rhyme City was built as a place where they live together in harmony. No gyms, no battles, just partnership, all thanks to the man who envisioned it all, Howard Clifford, played by Bill Nighy.
Diagnosed with a rare degenerative disease, he resigned from his corporation and searched the world for a cure.
Well, if that's not a setup for a villain, I don't know what is. Howard's son, Roger, played by Chris Gere, explains that Howard felt the cure was in partnering with Pokémon, thus Rhyme City was built. Not sure how this helps his dad not die from a terrible disease, but hey, we get Machamp crossing guards, Snorlax blocking the road, Pancham all over the place, Squirtle's putting out fires, the whole Poke shebang. Tim's not here for the Slowbro Soapland, but rather to meet up with Lieutenant Yoshida, played by Ken Watanabe. If he can get past the guy's snubble, that is.
He may look grumpy on the outside, but I assure you he is adorable on the inside.
You may recognize Ken from just about every Legendary Pictures film about a Japanese product retooled for an American audience. It's like they have him on speed dial for this kind of thing. As it so happens, Tim's father was in that crash and was also a detective. Yoshida tries to tell Tim about how much the guy loved him, but nope, not here for that. Give me his key so I can take care of things at his old apartment. That's fine, but there seems to be a Psyduck keeping an eye on him. Oh well, Trico cameo, and then we can check the mail. Yep, that's mail.
I've been waiting to see who would open up that mailbox. You just walked into quite a story.
Yeah? It's a movie. What kind of story are you talking about?
Stories like this spread fear, and they're afraid of fear. But I don't fear fear.
That's good, because this face had nothing but fear right now. The abstruse alliterating adolescent is Lucy Stevens, played by Katherine Newton. She's a journalist!
You seem kind of young for that.
I work for the CNN blog, making Pokemon listicles all day, okay? Top 10 cutest Pokemon.
Yeah, my grandma loves those.
Yeah, newsflash, they're all cute.
Ever heard of Garbodor? It's a living pile of garbage with huge eyes and sharp teeth. It's the cutest little thing. As it turns out, this is her Psyduck, and she's not done questioning Tim just yet. You see, in her budding journalist dreams, she knows that Harry Goodman was doing some unnamed mysterious stuff before the car crash, and thus Tim must tell her everything he knows. Easy enough, nothing. So, moving on, Tim heads up to his father's old apartment to see what was left behind. First of all, the TV's still on.
All right, Johnny, but what about my money?
Still with the old detective movies.
Angels with Filthy Souls, a movie that doesn't actually exist. It's a fake detective movie that was made for Home Alone, but was just put in there as a placeholder, but the editors couldn't really figure out anything better to put in there, so screw it, it's easier just to get the rights for that. We also see what Harry was working on, some clues about an ancient Mew dig site near Rhyme City, and of course, the vial. Jesus, like the top came off some spray paint, but his knee-jerk reaction is just to start applying it like Axe body spray. Eventually, he sprays it out the window, and it blows over into a group of Apom, who look like they turn into gremlins. Ah, no bother. Tim's fine and can continue snooping around. Fighting his father was going to send him a birthday card with a train ticket down there. However, while the card acknowledges he's 21, the room Harry had for Tim seems to be under the impression that the kid's still 10 years old, with the walls lined with Pokemon paraphernalia. But what's this? A strange noise arrests Tim's attention, and when he goes to investigate, he finds it to be an odd little Pikachu.
Put down the stapler, or I will electrocute you.
The titular Detective Pikachu, played by none other than Ryan Reynolds, who I still can't think of without imagining Pikachu dressed up like Deadpool. But Pokémon don't talk! Which means Tim is completely shocked by Pikachu's linguistic capabilities, and Pikachu is just as surprised that Tim is able to understand him.
I've been so lonely.
I'm gonna throw up.
No, kid, I need your help.
I'm gonna throw up.
I'm in serious
I'm gonna
trouble.
throw up.
I need you to listen.
But they don't have time to calmly assess the situation. The Apom are enraged and attacking, so they must work together and put aside their differences if they hope to survive.
I'm gonna get a knife. Not the knife! Okay, bad idea with the knife. I'll find something else.
Oh yeah, PG movie. Monster violence, sort of allowed, up until Pikachu cuts a motherfucker. Instead, Pikachu distracts Apom with a berry. Unfortunately, there was only one berry as opposed to the army of Apom raining down on them. Running upstairs, as you do when pursued by horrifying monsters, Tim and Pikachu try to run for it and do anything they can to keep the beasts from catching up, even as they continue to tear Tim's clothes off his back.
No, they seem to be attracted to your increasing nudeness.
Yeah, this is only rated PG, but damn if Pikachu ain't trying to push it harder. Eventually, the two of them escape via a garbage chute, leaving Tim filthy and pantsless. However, naked Tim is the least of this town's problems right now.
Run! Go, 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 go! Go there! Go there! I think pants are gonna do you a lot of good right now.
But the Apom have calmed down from their murderous rampage, returning to a state of cute, cuddly little monkey monsters who could snap your neck in an instant. Now, well, on to the next pressing matter.
You can hear him, right? You can hear him talking.
Yeah, Pika Pika Pika, he's adorable.
You're adorable. They can't understand me, kid.
But as it turns out, Tim is the only one who can understand and communicate with Pikachu. Why is this? Is there some great spiritual bond between the two that links them and allows for this great level of communication?
It's that stuff that I put up my nose. Not like that. No, it was a gas. I was breathing gas.
Hey.
Accidentally. I was accidentally
on the gas.
Or that I'm doing drugs! So yeah, Tim's still alone on this one, able to understand Pikachu, but it's more a curse to the I don't need a Pokemon kid than anything. However, when Tim mentions that was his father's apartment, Pikachu has a bolt of brilliance! He is, in fact, Harry's Pokemon partner. At least as best as he can figure, considering the fact that he has amnesia! God, that happens a lot. Tim decides to use a phone call to nowhere to mask their conversation so he can talk with Pikachu in this public setting without seeming insane.
Okay, so you're a talking Pikachu with no memories who's addicted to caffeine.
I could stop whenever I want.
Though I can't imagine who he could possibly be calling where that would be a normal conversation. His producer? Dropping the phone pretense, Tim just straight up tells him Harry is dead, 'cause, police report said so.
Did they find a body? Well, I didn't think so.
Aha, I knew it! Harry's waiting just outside of frame to come in and jump scare a friend! To strengthen his case, Pikachu points out, hey, I'm still alive, aren't I supposedly dead? Therefore, Harry must still be alive, and only they can get to the bottom of this! Tim does what he does best and brushes all of this off like, fuck this, I'm just trying to leave my father's memory in peace. But Pikachu points out that there is still hope, and working together, they may crack this case. Finally, Tim agrees to the plan, and they head back to the apartment for the night.
I just invited someone to my apartment. I never do this. I'm not that kind of Pokemon.
No, not PG-13. Definitely PG. Just having a harder and harder time figuring out how. Also, it doesn't take long for Pikachu to realize that the bed in Tim's intended home-away-from-home bedroom is in fact a Pikachu bed.
I've never been so flattered and creeped out at the same time. Are you gonna make me into a lampshade?
Oh, I might.
Damn, Jack was right. Cubone is the perfect Pokemon for that kid. After a night as restful as you can get after having to slowly explain to Pikachu, no, the lady in the picture is not a lead, she is my mother who has been dead for years. Tim awakens to find Pikachu hard at work, tearing the apartment apart, but he thinks he's got a breakthrough in the case.
Smell my finger.
I will never smell your finger.
Coward. The point is, I smelled this R stuff on those Apom when they attacked us yesterday.
R?
Bingo.
Mysterious purple gas that causes Pokemon to go insane. Turns out, it's extremely important to the plot. Figured as much. It would have been a hell of a thing if the crazy gas and the talking Pikachu were only minor side gags, and the real plot followed a Metapod that would just keep hardening and hardening and hardening. At least Tim figures out that Lucy has been following this case for a while, so she might have some leads he could use, and thus the two of them head down to CNM to find her. They manage to go inside and track her down soon enough, as she tries to convince Roger to let her run a story about the rumored Pokemon attacks lately.
We're not a tabloid, which means that we don't report on rumors, gossip, or hearsay. It's not news if it can't be verified.
Okay, I can accept the electric mouse, the crazy gas, and even the I can talk but only you can hear me, but that right there just annihilated my suspension of disbelief. When Tim gets a chance to whip out the R, she immediately takes him back to her office, and we learn a bit more about her Pokemon partner.
You didn't tell me that she has a Psyduck. These things explode when they're stressed. Hey, keep calm, pal. Serenity now. Serenity now.
Okay, so one important aspect to establish is that Psyduck's headaches cause them to explode, which is a bit odd. I mean, Psyduck's headaches can cause them to bring forth mysterious powers, but oh yes, Psyducks, they definitely explode is not really how it works. Voltorbs, they explode. That's pretty much just what they do. But it turns out she has her own collection of R's. Seems Harry had an informant near the docks, and that's where she found the vials.
It's not the sort of place you want to visit alone at night.
I'm actually pretty good at being alone at night.
Nope, that did not land right at all.
Dear God, this is the raunchiest PG movie I've ever seen. Well, that landed him alone that night, heading down to the docks with Pikachu. They scope out the place, eventually spying a Mr. Mime, but as they do, the thing looks like it's trying to get away as fast as possible.
I think he recognizes you.
Well, I was Harry's partner, so I would have been with him.
Harry's informant is a Pokemon.
Harry's informant was a dirty, no-good Mr. Mime skirting the outside of the law in the seediest parts of town. It's true, Pokemon and people really can do anything together. The dream of Rhyme City lives on. But the Mr. Mime tries to escape via miming, making it very easy for Tim and Pikachu to just, walk up to it and interrogate the Pokemon. However, he's not talking. Mostly because of the mime thing, but he's also not miming the information they need. Tim, however, figures out how to get on this Pokemon's level.
I have an idea.
What are you doing?
What's this?
Oh, there's a door there. I didn't, probably because it's invisible.
By out-miming Mr. Mime. That has to be embarrassing. He literally had one job. Utilizing the power of make-believe, Tim threatens the creature with invisible gas and a match. Eventually, the panicked thing mimes out that the R-vials came from the roundhouse. Oh, that's enough to go on. Time to head to that secret illegal Pokemon fighting club in the docks.
Harry traces the R to here, then frequents this joint because someone here knows something about something. We just need to find the someone and the something.
Hey! Don't worry. If you're running low on clues, the plot just starts jumping out at you. This lovely tattoo-bedecked individual will be Sebastian, played by Omar Chaparro. Evidently, Pikachu's been in here before. Scarred that Charizard up pretty bad. Thus, Sebastian wants a rematch. He even says he'll tell him anything he wants to know if he wins. Thus, Pikachu and Charizard square off. Charizard being hopped up on goofballs, naturally. No bother, while enraged, he can't think straight, giving Pikachu the perfect opportunity to thunderbolt the dragon into a gentle, fainting sleepy time.
Come on.
Hey, bud. What are you doing?
I can't do it when people are watching.
Well, if he could, the movie would be over too fast. Thus, he can't defeat Charizard, who is so enraged he's looking to kill Pikachu. Thus, Tim breaks the illegal fighting rings rules and rushes in to stomp on Charizard's flame. It's the Pokemon equivalent of kicking it in the balls. This ticks off Sebastian, but the guy trips and breaks all the rest of his secret vials of R, and the gas spreads to the rest of the Pokemon. And yeah, when the Loudred are enraged, they start playing dubstep. At least Tim gets the information he needs from Sebastian.
It comes from the doctor. That's all I know.
Okay, so what? Does he have to go out and get a prescription? Oh well, he's got his lead, I guess. So one short bit with a Gyarados to wash that scene down the drain, and Tim is on the case, heading to the lieutenant to share the progress he's made trying to track down Harry. However, Yoshida is not receptive. In fact, he's completely dismissive of Tim's hope to find Harry because Yoshida has the security footage.
No one could survive a crash like that. Not even your dad.
Well, what about the Pikachu that is clearly still alive? No one, you hear me? Now get depressed! And he does, sulking and giving us our somber, sad scene where Tim cries about how his father put his work above his family, but lately really was trying to reach out, but he wouldn't let him. Regret, somber music, all the sad Pikachu faces you could ever ask for. And then we move on.
We still got one mystery to solve.
What?
Yours. Let's find out who did this to you.
Well, that's gonna be a long night. This movie gives writing credits to like 10 people. But what do you do when you have a mystery with no leads? Well, just wait for the plot to roll up and demand you follow along, as Ms. Norman, played by Suki Waterhouse, brings Tim and Pikachu down to meet none other than Howard Clifford himself. You see, he needs their help. He hired Harry to find out where the R was coming from, and as it turns out, Howard's son was making it. You see, Howard spent so long trying to help Pokemon and people, he neglected his son, and so Roger wants to destroy that perfect society as revenge. Howard would stop him, but is kind of in a wheelchair, and Roger controls the police in the city, so the only one he can count on is Harry. Tim points out that kind of won't work because the guy's a little dead right now, but that's when Howard pulls out a handy-dandy holodeck of the security footage to let Tim have a closer look.
It allows us to see things that they cannot or don't want us to see.
He's alive.
Yeah, seatbelts. Amazing, I know. They also see that Mewtwo is there. He wiped Pikachu's memory and took Harry away.
Find Mewtwo, and you will find your father.
Alright, Dad's alive, and all I have to do to find him is track down a legendary Pokemon of unspeakable power who could kill me with a dirty look. Alright, I'll go get my coat. Just because they have no idea what they're doing doesn't mean there's nothing to do, though. Tim gets back in contact with Lucy, who has all the dirt on the Cliffords you could ask for, including information about a secret Pokemon genetic research facility. Also, their chief scientist was a doctor! It's kind of obvious, but it does match that incredibly bad lead from earlier. No bother, a quick pair of wire cutters and the perimeter fence is all they need to break in, and once inside, they find the walls lined with peculiar capsules.
It's Greninja.
Oh, nice! I'm sure that's just a happy little cameo, and they're not going to try to kill you later. Especially with the experimental power enhancement they've been treated with. Moving on, there's also a Torterra garden with experimental growth enhancement that I'm sure will be just as irrelevant. Either way, they find Mewtwo's experimentation room and discover a few things going over the holodeck footage. First of all, the R substance was effectively milked out of Mewtwo, and second, they didn't clone this Mewtwo. This is the same one that was made in Kanto. They just needed to find and capture it.
Fortunately, our benefactors hired a specialist to track it down. Good luck, Detective Goodman.
And Tim's father was working with them to capture Mewtwo all along! Which sounds like it is missing some seriously important information. So now the guys are even more confused than before. No bother, they can pass this by Lucy. That is, if she didn't just disappear. Nothing around them at all. Spare some slime on the floor.
Ew.
Just when you thought it was safe to go back in the tall grass. Pulling the fire alarm frees her from the kinky kidnapping, and they run! The Greninja, however, are right on their tail, so Pikachu doesn't use his electrical attacks that are super effective against them, but instead gets Psyduck to get one of those horrible headaches that results in an explosion! One that, despite the warnings earlier, doesn't kill any of them, only knocks all the Greninja out in one hit. Well, and causes the entire landscape to start rising up, tearing apart, and shifting around.
At this point, how can you not believe in climate change?
Okay, I'm going to be very impressed if you actually manage to explain how in the hell that was caused by gasoline and plastic straws. The real explanation is that, of course, the massive Torterra are shifting around, causing landslides and earthquakes that would normally kill anyone in the area, but fortunately these guys have plot armor for things like this. Unless the plot says otherwise, of course. Fissure, ground type move. Pikachu's weak to that. Which means while most of them are fine, Pikachu is horribly wounded and dying. However, a passing Bulbasaur catches Tim, who begs for the Pokemon to bring Pikachu to a healing Pokemon. I can think of a few. Chansey, Blissey, Alomomola if you're desperate. Can't say I was expecting him to bring Tim and Pikachu over to a motherfucking Mewtwo, though.
No, wait!
And don't ask me how in the hell Mewtwo's healing them. As far as I know, Mewtwo's healing moves only heal itself. But movie Mewtwo, you know how it works, he's pretty much a god. So Pikachu's okay! However...
You brought the sun to me, as agreed.
What is he talking about?
I don't know, kid. I'm as lost as you are.
We're over an hour into this, and this is the first we've heard of any of that. Mewtwo decides to explain by blasting the images into their minds. You see, Pikachu sabotaged the lab, allowing him to escape, and after the accident...
You've done well. Humanity's evil. I've always believed Pokémon are...
Mewtwo might have been cut off mid-sentence, but I'm pretty sure we got all the important stuff right there, right? Cut off because, surprise, it's being recaptured by Roger. Oh well, guess we could just leave it there then, meaning Pikachu now believes it's him who is the bad guy. He betrayed Harry and cannot be trusted.
No, I'm not letting you go.
You see?
It just isn't a buddy flick unless the buddies decide to split up completely at the end of Act 2. And then join back up like 5 minutes later and just completely forget entirely about that little spat. In the meantime, hey, it's time for the Pokémon Parade, celebrating the peace and bond between Pokémon and people in Rhyme City. Tim and Lucy arrive in town, and while Lucy is tasked with trying to break the story of that dastardly Roger, Tim figures he should tell Howard as soon as possible. Pikachu, however, finds something strange while walking past the bridge where the accident took place. Greninja stars.
Mewtwo was trying to protect us?
Of course, it's the beginning of Act 3. Just about everything has to be a twist now. As Pikachu realizes that this certainly had to be in the footage Howard showed them earlier, and selectively omitted, that's because he's the real bad guy, which Tim finds out right quick as he witnesses Howard bringing in the captured Mewtwo, spray it down with Mewtwo milk, and then... Howard shows how he managed to defeat the disease, swap bodies with the most powerful Pokémon in the world! Gen 1, I mean, Arceus is literally Pokémon God, but he's not in this movie. But what about Harry? Well, Howard hired him to get Mewtwo, but then he started snooping around, and after figuring out Howard was the bad guy, Harry helped Mewtwo escape. No bother, Mr. Clifford here still got what he needed, plenty of R, and the body of Mewtwo. Somehow his Mewtwo-ness gives him the power to put human souls into Pokemon's bodies, but only works if the Pokemon are enraged. Guess what that R shit does? Also, guess what all his balloon Pokemon are filled with? R. The only chemical weapon named by pirates. With the Pokémon out of their minds, Howard, the genetically engineered monstrosity, begins merging the population into his perfect vision. Right around the time Pikachu shows up and realizes that the berry mulch has really hit the Wobbuffet. Thus, he sets out destroying the remaining balloons, because nothing says Pokémon movie climax like explosions! Tim, meanwhile, finds Roger, tied and gagged. Because unlike the game, Roger is in fact not a bad guy. The Roger we saw earlier running around doing all those nefarious things was in fact a Ditto, Howard's partner Pokémon, who he usually has running around looking like a hot young lady. Kind of peculiar. Especially when you consider, as per anime rules, the face doesn't exactly change along with all the rest of them. Still can change well enough to really mess with Tim's head, though.
For the record, I have no guilt hitting a beady-eyed version of the woman I'm very attracted to.
Yeah, but no skills in that department either. Not to worry. While Tim has his back and forth with Ditto, Pikachu keeps up the heat against Howard Mewtwo, which doesn't do much more than frustrate the guy. After all, he's an electric mouse. What hope does he have? Obviously, just to keep him busy, allowing Tim to slip that mental link thingamajig off Howard's head, freeing Mewtwo from his control. That means Mewtwo's a good guy again, saving Pikachu from falling to his death.
I'm sorry, I pushed you away just when you needed me the most.
I'm just happy you're back.
It's kind of weirding me out, actually, that you're even acknowledging that the nasty breakup happened. Most movies just move along and just never mention it. In the spirit of moving right along, Mewtwo hits Control-Z and casts a massive undo over the city, separating the people from their Pokémon. But speaking of past events, just what in the hell is the answer to the mystery we spent all movie trying to solve? Well, it all comes down to actually listening to the entirety of Mewtwo's conversation with Pikachu after the crash.
You've done well. Humanity is evil. But you have shown me that not all humans are bad.
As it turns out, Mr. Goodman over there turns out to be a very good man. But I still don't trust the Glasscock family. It seems when the car blew up, Harry was mortally wounded. However, Mewtwo could heal him if he had the guy's son nearby, because reasons. In the meantime, Harry's soul was moved into Pikachu's body, which resulted in amnesia, which Mewtwo knew would happen, but for some reason explained the plan before doing the transfer and not after. Ah well, point is, happy ending! Tim has found his father. It turns out it really was Ryan Reynolds all along. And now that they're finally reunited, Tim decides maybe insurance isn't what he wants to devote his life to.
Maybe I could give detective work a try?
I think he likes that idea.
Yeah, sounds easy enough. Seriously, in the Pokemon world, how many crimes really happen? Anytime there's a criminal organization that pops up, they're beat up by a 10-year-old kid. You're gonna be spending your days getting Littens out of Sudowoodos. Anyway, that was Pokémon Detective Pikachu. And it's a Pokemon movie that seems to acknowledge that a decent amount of its fan base is in its 30s now. That's not to say it isn't a kid's movie, but it's more of a family flick with the secret jokes meant for the parents coming off more like subtle jokes meant for the middle-aged Pokemaniacs who are definitely going to see this movie. Now, as a film itself, it is entertaining, but somewhat basic. If you strip away the spectacle of seeing hyper-realistic depictions of Pokemon and mountains of Pokemon cameos, the meat of the story is pretty simple. It's not bad, as it's a kid's mystery movie, but it's also nothing very impressive there either. Not to mention it doesn't help that the big mystery of what happened to Pikachu's memory could have been solved if Mewtwo had stuck around for like 5 more minutes and explained it. Something could have happened to prevent that, but the movie didn't seem to think that was important enough to show. Just give the Pokemon amnesia, good enough. Still, the cliché aspects and tropes don't completely rule the day, and it is fun to see a take on the Pokemon world that is not 10-year-old anime superheroes with unlimited funds battling day in and day out. Although the Pokemon battles we do get are pretty spectacular, so I wouldn't mind seeing this style explored more in the future. At the end of the day, Pokémon Detective Pikachu is a fun little mystery movie where the mystery isn't really that important because we're all really here to gawk at the special effects. Coupled with decent enough writing that knows how to push the envelope without being too obvious about it, and it all comes together at a solid 3 big fat tongues in the face out of 5. Yeah, it could have been better, but it could have been a lot worse, and for what it's worth, I had a lot of fun watching it. Thank you all for watching. I've been Dr. Shado, and remember, if your pets start talking to you, maybe lay off the R.
I'm actually pretty good at being alone at night.